you've talked about you've criticized the, I think it's Agenda 2030. I can't that the
Yeah.
basically the idea that according to the World Economic Forum, the plan or their prediction for the world in 2030 is that we will have no privacy and no property. And this is something that my mom has been like, she's very like big on like making sure I buy a house at some point. And I try to explain to her that it's not as easy to actually buy a house as it used to be.
Yeah.
But why is it important for us to, in your mind anyway, to keep property, to own something? Because for me at the moment in my life anyway, I don't really have a problem renting. Like it's easy. It allows me to up and move quickly. Like why is it so crucial for you to say that we should maintain property as something that we as ordinary people own?
Well, that's a very, very good point that you mentioned. And of course, there are many things that we rent. Uh, well, the most simple thing is you go into a restaurant. You buy the food, yes, but what do you rent actually at that time while you eat is the table and the chair. Yeah, have you thought about that? So we have always this connection between these two elements of renting, and never anywhere has there been a complete private property system. Yes, as you know, you mentioned buying a house, having a house. As soon as you have this house, it is subject to so many regulation. You cannot even remove some things, some wall outside without some authority from authorization by the government and so on. So and you're limited in the private property of using certain food and so on. Yes, but the point is, and I come back to Ludwig von Mises. He said, liberalism, what is liberalism in the European sense? What does it mean to have an economic system where freedom is a value? And he said, in putting it in one word, it is the ownership, and it's the ownership, the private property. Yeah, private property gives to the individual this kind of freedom that he has to grow his own personality, and also to give this kind of incentive to accumulate wealth. It's the part of the capitalist spirit to own. Yes, if we don't have that. And so you have these management companies that manage property, but you had this in a certain way in socialism. Yes, in socialism you had a house, but you could not do anything. You had no market for it. You were not really the owner of the house. Yes, you were almost renting it, even if you were formally had the right to live there. What was the point? Nobody took care of it. Nobody took care of it, and there was no dynamic in the economy of, well, let's use the term of the Marxist, of capital accumulation. Yes, capital accumulation in this real sense is an important part of the human being. And well, you can think about of a future economy like a communist economy. Yes, and the point is, why would you strive to build up a company, a new company, if there were no property to it? Yes, if I mean, what's the incentive to being proud of something? Yes, in this sense, and you can even go to the arts. Yes, imagine that I paint a picture as, let's say, a painter, and I am not the owner of this picture. I just, it is the state. I paint for the state. Yes, and just imagine what the result is. And we have seen that. Yes, at first there was some kind of boom in the arts at the first years of communism, because the old system, the old culture was still living.
Mm.
Yes. And then after a while, the so-called socialist realism, as they called it, was just a horror. Yes. And I mean, when you're not the owner and you're a private property, so these are my songs, so to speak. Let's put it in this way to make it more accessible to many people, not so materialistic. Yes, yes. So you are a, let's call it, you are a rock group, and all the music you write are for the state, and he lends it out. Yes, and it lends it out. Yeah, it just would not work as it would seem. Yes, and that was the idea of the communist, and the literature is full of that, that when we have communism, a new kind of person will emerge, a new kind of person who would be able to do these things without property. Yes, but I think it definitely does not work, because things and creations are part of your identity. Yes, and so let's put it this way: you rent. I exaggerate a little bit. You rent a Ferrari, and you're on the street, yeah, and then comes a nice girl, and she said, "Is this your car?" And no, I just rented it. I mean, I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not your nature to do that in these things. Yes.
So you're saying it's not just a sense of like that we need something to that it's nice to have something to strive for. The idea that we we'll have our own place that we can like build as our own. It's as well. It's the idea that if we don't own something, then we don't take if it's not ours and we can't like put our own stamp on it, that we take no pride in it, and that things will deteriorate because no one takes like pride and ownership and responsibility for something or some place or some company. Because if it's all rented and it doesn't actually belong to anyone, then no one has a need to maintain it and to develop it and to want the best for it. Because if you don't really truly own it, then you can't take pride, responsibility for it.
Well, I think this is just one aspect. Maybe the more important aspect is that you would not create. I mean, just think of kids, and the kids paint something, and that's what I painted. That's what I did. It is mine. I give it to you. I show it to you. I may read it to you, but it's still mine. So let's say children will have a very strong sense that, let's say, your boy painted something, and your daughter says, "No, I did it." That will be a big fight. Also, it would not matter very much. Yes. It's the creative part. The creative part is very important.
So like if you see Da Vinci, or is it Da Vinci
Yeah.
who painted the Mona Lisa? I can't think of
Da
it.
Vinci,
But Da Vinci
Leonardo,
was Da Vinci. So you said Da Vinci wouldn't have painted the Mona Lisa if he didn't own the canvas.
Well, at least he could say, "This is the building I made," and he can give it away. He can sell it, of course, but it still is his painting. Property in these things, intellectual property. Although he had spent it, still identified. It is not a collective enterprise. It's individualistic. I mean, this is probably the point.
Yeah.
And the main point in all of these systems is, does it open up human energy or reduce human energy? And if you think of such a system as the World Economic Forum imagines, I think it will pull out and negatively all energy in the human beings that are there. Just a couple of days ago, somebody asked me, wouldn't it be beautiful to have basic income. Everybody gets a minimum basic income. Yes. And we have a system that would allow eternal life. Yes. So ideal combination. And I told him, what would a young person do in this respect? I tell you what it would do. He would do. He would sit 24 hours in his room and play video games. That's all he would do.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obvious. The life will go on. I can do what I want to do in 50 years. I get a new organ and so on, and I don't need to work. I don't need to educate myself because I get my basic income. And with these $1,000 or $1,500, I live quite well with my online. That's all I need, and some hamburger. And this is just life fine. This would be a huge amount of young persons who would fall into this trap. I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure. Well, maybe not. It will not affect me or you because we are still from the other side of the world. Yeah, we would go on because we are programmed in a different way. But the persons who were now born into such a system, yeah, who from early on in school, they hear, yes, my daddy lives on $1,500 and he's quite fine and so on. Oh, yes, why should I learn anything? Why would I create anything? It will suck energy out of the people. Yeah, they would be very lame and very stupid. It would be a total stupidity all over.
I mean, I guess like my understanding of how the only way that I think universal basic income could work, I don't think if you combine it with eternal life, that's going to be very sustainable. But my thoughts on it were always that you have to find an amount of money that provides like the barest, most basic life that you can possibly imagine. Like anything beyond like subsistence, food, and like a roof over your head, it should be your own like choice to pursue. So if you're happy with just living in a shack with like a bit of bread, then fine. But my thoughts were always that, and this might just be me, that it would be great to be able to free people from the need to just take whatever job they need, and it would give people maybe the freedom to kind of pursue their own desires for at least a little bit, or develop themselves, or say artists who can't or authors, writers, anyone in like a creative industry that you need to take a lot of time to develop your skill, and that it could be a great way to allow people to do that, especially in a future when things are going to be automated more and more and more. Yeah, that was always my thought on it. But I think you could be right. Like there's definitely something about needing to do something, like say that menial job, that shitty like minimum wage job that you don't want, and to learn like that everything isn't like perfect and easy, and that you just have to do something in order to get by. You can't it makes you then appreciate more when you get to a place where you can like do a job that you genuinely enjoy. Like that was like a really there was a really useful like tool almost for getting people to like realize when they're lucky and they have like a job that they can enjoy, and to like build character and like build your fortitude and your ability to accept things that aren't maybe exactly as you like them. Like, I mean, I feel like my generation is probably a bit soft. We've had it. Yeah. I keep joking that we're all spoiled soft children. That like if our grandparents had all of their rights and liberty taken away with very little explanation, justification, or vote this year, that they would have been on the street, and we're all just sat inside on Zoom. Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.